How's it going, everyone? It's Mike with Fox Gaming, and today I'm going to share with you the perfect beginner's guide for No Man's Sky in 2020. In this beginner's guide for No Man's Sky, I am going to show you how to start out from a fresh save and get all the goodies in the game. Right now we're sitting at just under 11 hours played, and I already have a giant awesome S-Class freighter base. I have just over 1.3 billion units. We have all of our cargo, technology, and general slots maxed out. I've got an awesome S-Class fighter already. And of course, she's all maxed out and pimped out pretty well. I've got an awesome multi-tool, which I will show you how to get. I still need to pimp her out, but all in due time. And here is Cheesetopia, my S-Class freighter, and she is totally sweet, blue and yellow, of course. I will also show you how to get all the portal glyphs so you can go anywhere in the galaxy you want to. I really hope this perfect beginner's guide for No Man's Sky helps your gameplay. These are the methods I use to advance my tunes as quickly as possible in the safest manner. Let's hop into a fresh normal mode save and get the ball rolling. Seeing as how No Man's Sky does a really good job of holding your hand through the quest lines and things like that, pointing you in the right direction, I am not going to be covering any of the quest line material at all whatsoever in this guide, but don't worry, I'll be giving you handy tips here and there. When you start a fresh save in No Man's Sky, it doesn't matter what difficulty you choose, you are kind of in a precarious position. You're starting out the game with hardly any hazard protection, and you really need to find shelter as quickly as possible. There are 4 elements in No Man's Sky that you really need to worry about right in the beginning of the game, and that's going to be oxygen, sodium, you're going to need carbon, as well as ferrite dust. Oxygen is going to be for your life support, sodium will be for your hazard protection, and the other 2 elements you're going to need to construct items in the game. Alright, so in just a second we're going to have the ability to move our tune, and our first order of business is to either find a cave or find some sodium for survival. The direction I'm facing right now is the direction my crash ship is going to be, so keep that in mind, travelers. It is a pretty far distance away, so I'm not going to try to jog it. I am going to definitely try to find a cave, and unfortunately that's not a cave. I thought it might be. There are 2 main reasons why we're trying to find a cave right now, travelers. My hazard protection is pretty low, so getting inside will stop my hazard protection from going down. And the other reason why is there is a ton of oxygen and sodium inside of caves. You can hunt and peck for oxygen and sodium out in the dangerous environment on these planets, but you're better off to find a cave because all that stuff's inside, plus a way to make tons of money. Here's our first bit of oxygen we found. The plants might look a little bit different, but they'll always glow red. Caves might be awesome, but they also can be a little bit dangerous, so make sure you don't drop into a whole bunch of poisonous plants because you will get your butt kicked really fast. Before we head back out into the dangerous environment, I'm going to farm a little bit of cave marrow. Mostly I'm going to farm a bunch of these poisonous plants in here. For now, I'm just going to hold on to the marrow bulb. We're going to turn that into a whole bunch of sodium later when I start working on my ship. Every time you destroy one of these hazardous flora, they have the opportunity to give you either sodium or oxygen. This is why I love caves, everybody. Just make sure when you're mining these up that you stand really far back. That green poisonous cloud is no joke. It will eat through your hazard protection and then your life support in no time. Once you get yourself a little bit of stash of sodium and oxygen going, the game becomes a lot more laid back and less dangerous even if you play in permadeath mode. This is why I will always recommend that your very first order of business should be to find yourself a cave as soon as possible and any sodium on the way there. Just make a straight beeline for caves and you're going to be set. If you're a new traveler to No Man's Sky, also keep this in mind. The very first planet that you spawn on will not have any dangerous fauna. This means that no animals will attack you. This is always the case across all game difficulties. That guarantee stops on the very next planet you visit, so be careful and keep your head on a swivel when you land on a new planet for the very first time. Now that we have ourselves a little bit of stash of sodium and oxygen so we won't fall over and die out here, I'm going to farm a little bit of carbon, which is ironic because there's carbon in the cave that I didn't even notice. The other element we're going to need right away is going to be ferrite dust. Those are those little rocky formations laying all over the planet's surface. We'll get to that as soon as I get done farming up a little bit more carbon. Now that we're a little bit closer to these trees, let me show you how to effectively mine elements in No Man's Sky. In the beginning, when the mining laser is green, you'll see that it's barely doing any damage, but as it heats up to yellow and red, it starts to do more and more damage. The trick is to keep it in the yellow and red constantly by feathering the button. All you need to do is just let go of the trigger button for a brief second and re-engage it, and it will lose a little bit of temperature and you can get back to doing max damage on a constant basis. Doing it this way will help you mine 2.5 times faster, which is a great help when you're trying to mine up a whole bunch of elements quickly. We still need to scarf up a bunch of ferrite dust, so let me get my mining tool reloaded and I'll get right down to business. Right now you'll see all these stones say unidentified material and analyze. I don't have my analysis visor repaired yet, so we're going to farm up a little bit of this ferrite dust. We'll get that all repaired up and then we'll be able to see what other element is inside these rocks. Sometimes the secondary element drops are pretty good, so it is worth getting your analysis visor repaired as soon as possible, because you can't collect that secondary element unless you have it analyzed. Back in the cave after scarfing up a bunch of ferrite dust, let's get this scanner fixed and then we can start using it. Let's also get the analysis visor installed. We are going to need carbon nanotubes for that, but that's going to help us start collecting the secondary drops as well as scanning other plants and animals in the game. And just like that, we got our analysis visor up and running. We have our scanner going. Basically, our multi-tool is good to go for now until we get our terrain manipulator. Now all we have to do to use the analysis visor is to engage it, then hold down the trigger button. It'll scan it and let you know what the secondary drop is. This one's salt, which is absolutely amazing. Anything that you scan can be uploaded for nanites, and I'll show you that a little bit later, but for now we are going to be farming cobalt to make a whole bunch of money. Later in the video, I'll show you how to crash the economies at space terminals on space stations with all this cobalt, where you can sell it at full price and then buy it back really cheap and do that in an endless cycle to make a bunch of money. You'll see that money making method when we get to upgrading my backpack slots and all my cargo and technology slots. I do that all at the exact same time. Here's that carbon I was talking about. It is littering the cave all over the place. Might as well get that analyzed as well and see what the secondary element is for this. Dun dun dun. Oh well, it's nitrogen. That's not too handy for us right now in the beginning of the game. I'll end up destroying that later. I'm telling you, when you start out with a fresh save, don't rush to your ship. Spend some time in these caves. If you have carbon in it, farm as much as you can inside of it. It's a relatively safe environment. If you find any ferrite dust, farm that as well. Just be aware of those poisonous plants and farm as many of those as you possibly can. Inside of some caves on planets, you'll find these albion pearls, which sell for a decent amount of money. The only thing is they do take up a little bit of bag space, so just be aware of that, traveler. For about the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to farm up as many of these hazardous flora as I possibly can and as much cobalt as I possibly can. If I run across any more of that cave marl, I'll farm that up as well, but the main focus is going to be this cobalt. I want to have at least a few thousand on me before I hit up the space terminal in this space station later on in the video. Oh, and before I forget, the other neat thing about farming minerals is sometimes you'll be getting a geoid, and in this case I got a tetra cobalt, which was really neat. The other one just gave me a little bit of extra cobalt. That's still pretty good in the long run. I'm up to over 1,000 at this point. Getting Nancy to head back to the ship. It is now time to start worrying about these dihydrogen crystals. They are those little blue crystals that are going to be littered all over the tops of planets. The dihydrogen is used for launch thruster fuel, and without it you are going nowhere, travelers, so make sure you farm at least a little bit of that before you get to your ship. Here we are at the crash ship location, and you can almost always count on a little group of oxygen here just for you, traveler. Once you get here, you can use your ship as a shelter, and it will allow you to recharge your hazard protection for free, which is really nice. Your crash ship location will also have caves in the area, so you can farm up some more cobalt or some more of those hazardous flora if you need. You're also going to be doing your ship quest here as well. The ship quest does a really good job at holding your hand and showing you exactly what you need to do to repair your ship, so I'll let the game show you that so you can experience that firsthand. Another handy tip is to destroy your rocket launcher. You'll get a little bit of copper, which you then can refine down into chromatic metal later with your refinery. You can do this just before your base command unit quest to save you having to go out and farm that copper yourself. I haven't started my ship quest yet, but we are doing pretty good. I have over 3,000 cobalt, and I've got a little bit of tetra cobalt as well. I'll show you what you do with that later. I got a big stash of carbon, sodium, and oxygen going, so I'm pretty good right now. There is one thing I will mention about the ship quest is on your way there is always a blizzard or some kind of storm, so make sure that you're prepared for that. You have enough hazard protection for the journey, traveler. Other than that, you're on your own. Here I am back at the ship. I just completed the first stage of the ship quest, and I now have the ability to make the portable refiner, which is an extremely handy tool in the game. Now I'm going to take the time to turn all this marrow bulb into sodium. This will give me all the sodium I need to complete all the quests I'm going to do for about the first 4 hours of gameplay. While that's cooking up, I'll take the opportunity to farm up a little bit more carbon and ferrite dust, and then when that's all done, we're going to stick our tetra cobalt in there and then refine that down to ionized cobalt. And there we go, just like that. Got a whole bunch of extra sodium. That didn't take me any time just from farming those little marrow bulb plants in the caves. Although platinum can be turned into nanites, it probably would have been better if I just would have saved that and sold it on a space terminal somewhere. But yeah, there's that. That tetracobalt will refine down really quickly into ionized cobalt, and that stuff is worth quite a bit on space terminals. Ship's all repaired. I'm on the very next part of the quest, which is the signal source quest. This is where you're going to have to build your base command unit so you can get your terrain manipulator. But first, what is that over there? I could have swore I saw some kind of landing pad. Yep, it looks like it's a transmission tower. We might actually be able to find a crashed ship here, so this is worthy of checking out. This seems like a nice lush planet. I might actually build my newbie starter base here. Well, maybe not at this location, but on this planet at least. It's classified as balmy, so there might be some storms here and there, but this looks pretty sweet. If you can find yourself a nice lush planet in your newbie starting system, definitely build your newbie starting base there. It will help you in the long run. There isn't any guarantees that there aren't going to be any dangerous fauna around, so keep your eyes peeled because you might get attacked, even if it is a nice planet. Although I didn't show it earlier in the footage, I did scan pretty much all the minerals, plants, and animals on the planet. I almost got all the animals, but not quite. It is a really good way to get starting nanites in the game for a new starting player. Don't spend too much time on this unless it's your thing, because we'll be making tens of thousands of nanites just a few hours into our gameplay. Let's check out the inside. Generally, there's always an NPC that will give you some kind of quest or item or reward, and there's going to be a little puzzle quest that you're going to need to do. I'll show you this one right now. It's pretty simple. Pretty much all these signal towers are going to have some kind of mathematical quiz or test you're going to have to take, and this one's really easy. The answer is 720. I'll let you figure that out on your own. Let's see what type of reward we get, and heck yeah, it is a distress signal. That is going to be a crash ship. Let's hope it's going to be a half decent one. Whatever it is, it's most likely going to be better than our newbie starting ship. If it turns out to be a really good ship, that is a really good location to build your newbie starting base at, because that ship will refresh over time and you can go ahead and retake it up to the space station and salvage it for money and nanites. I don't really know any of the Gek words yet, but I'll just give them 100 units and see what I get for it. In most cases, it is always worth doing these kind of little side quests, and look, I got an underwater breathing protection module. I can turn around and sell that for nanites later on the space station. That was really nice. I decided to hop into a cave nearby, and I found some subterranean relics. Here are other items you can find within caves that will give you a whole bunch of money. Each vortex cube you loot will give you a piece of tetracobalt, which you then can refine down to ionized cobalt, adding to your massive stash of ionized cobalt for later. This place is completely covered in cave marrow. Holy crap, I guess I'll just have to farm up some of that before I head out. Back at the ship, just got done doing a little bit of cave exploration. Let's get this tetracobalt refined down to ionized cobalt, and then we'll turn the rest of that cave marrow into sodium, and then I should be set for the rest of my gameplay. I'm not going to have to worry about farming anything else. Well, at least any type of minerals. I'll have to farm some salvage data later for my base quest. Any type of minerals you need, you'll be able to buy them up at the space station with all the hundreds of millions, well, a little bit over $1 billion that I'm going to make in this Let's Play. The cool thing is, travelers, you can do the exact same thing I'm doing by doing what I do in this perfect best start guide to No Man's Sky in 2020. As soon as we get all this marrow bulb converted over into sodium, we're going to get the heck on out of here and start on our base command unit quest. This will put us at over 1,000 sodium, which is going to be plenty of sodium for our ship as well as our environmental hazard protection on planets. I stopped by the signal source and did that little bit of the quest, and now here I am checking out this crash ship location. I'm really hopeful that this is either going to be an A-class or better explorer. If it is, this is going to be a great place to build my base location at. Oh well, it's just a B-class. I guess I'll still build here anyway. This is like a great planet, but man, there are a lot of predators around. So like I said, keep your head on a swivel and make sure that these aggressive animals don't sneak up on you. Every crash ship you come across in No Man's Sky has a distress beacon, and you always want to do the inspect recently installed technology option. That gives you the best bet for ship technology. It looks like we found a teleport receiver. That is an amazing find, travelers. That'll help us transfer items from great distances in between my ship and myself. Let's scarf up this little B-class explorer here. I plan on just repairing the launch thrusters and regular thrusters to get it up to the space station. We are going to scrap this for a bunch of units and nanites. Alright, got that little explorer all repaired up. We can take her up to the space station in just a little bit and do some scrapping, but first we need to get our base going. One thing to note for newer travelers, the very second you start to place these tiles and start building your base, there's going to be a storm incoming. Here it is right now. You need to get this base completed as soon as possible, travelers. Make sure that your ship is nearby so you can hop in and refresh your hazard protection just in case. If not, make sure you have all that daggone sodium on you. Don't leave it somewhere else in your spaceship too far away. Surviving in No Man's Sky is pretty easy as long as you're prepared. If you're not prepared, that's when you get yourself into trouble. There we go, mini base complete. I'm going to add a few extra things like a portal, some batteries, and some solar panels and things like that later on, but I'm not going to do too much to this place. I'm going to wait until I find the perfect planet to build my mega base. Interacting with the base computer this time is going to give me the opportunity to build the construction research unit. I can start researching blueprints by farming salvage data. Now all we need to do is go out and dig up some salvage data so we can build our teleporter, batteries, and solar panels, etc. One of the really cool side effects of farming for salvage data is you will run across quite a few of these damaged machineries, and you'll get a bunch of nanites from these, and sometimes you'll get modules and other things. What is nanite roulette going to give us? Looks like 25 nanites. I guess I'll take it. If you find an S-class module, that's worth almost 500 nanites, travelers. Salvage data can be found inside these buried technology modules pretty much on every single planet in No Man's Sky. You'll usually get between 1 and 3 salvage data per module that you farm up out of the ground. Now there's another one. Let's hop over there and get that one too. Here we are coming up on the next technology module, and I found another damaged machinery, and of course my inventory's full, so I guess I'll just destroy that. It's either going to be nanites or a module. Oh, that's a really good sign, travelers. I think I might have just found a module. Let's do some quick inventory management and see what we found. Ooh, that's an A-class module. I can sell that at the space station for quite a few nanites. Ha, sweet, the buried technology module was floating above ground. Sometimes that happens, travelers. But anyways, I'm going to get underground so I don't get wrecked by this storm. Well, I guess my head's a little bit too fat to fit in the hole, so I'll make it a little bit deeper, and I'll see you travelers back at the base. Back at the base, let's get the basics going. I need a portal. I'm going to need a biofuel reactor. I'm going to need a battery, and I'm going to need some solar panels. You really do need to get those basics set into place before you go out and start doing your warp cells quest. It's really important. Unfortunately, I forgot how expensive solar panels are. I think they cost 8 salvage data, so I'm going to have to go back out and farm those a little bit later. But until then, we're going to get the basics going now that I got this wire tool. I can afford the battery now at 3 salvage data. Unfortunately, that's going to leave me at 6 salvage data short for the daggone solar panels. The realization of that is setting in right now. Oh my goodness, now I have to go back out there and farm again. The other method to make nanites, which I haven't really featured in this beginner's guide, is to refine down all that slime and get it into this mold form, and then you can turn that itself into nanites. It's a pretty lengthy process depending on which stage the slime is in, but once you get it into the mold, it does transfer over into nanites pretty quickly, so I just kind of do that here and there as I go. Before I do any base building, I decided to take that little B-class Explorer up to the space station so I can scrap her and sell just a few things to make more room for my bag space. We'll take the opportunity to grab another general slot and check out which gun is inside the cabinet. I'll also take the opportunity to see if I can pawn off a whole bunch of this cobalt and ionized cobalt, then buy it all back for a super duper awesome good guy price. Let's get this little B-class Explorer scrapped up, and she's worth 350,000 units. That's all free money right there, and I'll take it. We'll also get a whole bunch of other stuff we can sell for units as well. We'll get a whole bunch of modules that we can then turn around and sell for nanites here on this vendor. That's going to be really nice. With each ship you scrap, you have the opportunity to find storage augmentations, which gives you the ability to upgrade your ship's storage systems like totally and completely for free. And just like that, we're over 1,000 nanites, and look at there, I ended up getting a storage augmentation. That's freaking awesome. This will certainly come in handy later in the video. Here we are at the terminal in the back of the space station. Let's see if we can sell any of this ionized cobalt on it. You're always going to be able to sell cobalt, but let's see if we can sell any of the ionized cobalt as well. If this terminal does end up having ionized cobalt on it, we are going to make a decent amount of money here, travelers. And look at there, it is on the terminal, so we can go ahead and sell all of our cobalt and ionized cobalt at once. Before we crash the economy, let's sell off all this other junk that's clogging up my bags. The one thing about No Man's Sky in the very beginning, the struggles are real. You don't have very much bag space. That really becomes a factor when you're playing in survival mode and permadeath mode, where you're limited to 250 or 500 per stack. In normal mode though, you get 9,999 per stack. That is really handy, especially when it comes to minerals. Alright, so let's start crashing the economy with this cobalt here. I just sold it for full price, and in just a little bit we're going to buy it all back for a huge discount. Sold a few more things. Now let's get rid of this ionized cobalt. We're going to buy it right back here in just a second at a huge discount. As long as the item is for sale on the space station terminal, you have the opportunity to sell it and then buy it back at a huge discount. Right there is 79.7% off. That's an awesome deal. Notice how the price of the ionized cobalt is at minus 66.7. That's because I didn't have enough to crash it all the way to around 80%, but we're still getting a pretty daggone good discount anyway. In that very first buy and sell we did right there, we made a profit, but more importantly, we gained a whole bunch of extra cobalt and ionized cobalt for the next buy and sell. While up there, we can stock up on some more cobalt and hopefully some more ionized cobalt off these ship guys. So let's see if we can purchase as much as we can at the good guy price. The key to making as much money as you can while you're upgrading your backpack slots going from space station to space station here in just a little bit is to have as much ionized cobalt and cobalt as possible. At this point, we can put our 1.2 million that we have left to work and buy a bunch of cobalt, and that'll help us in the next system make a bunch more money than we would have. I'm going to do this for a little bit until I get pretty low on funds, and then we'll head back and start working on our base. Handy little tip that I won't show on camera is make sure you hold on to all your gold that you find, and if you don't have any, make sure you buy some because you will need some for the solar panels. I accidentally sold mine, so I'm going to have to buy some off camera, but yeah, there's that. The good news is, if you put down your base command unit before you come up to the space station, you will be able to portal back, so you won't have to waste your time flying back. It'll save you just a little bit of time. Back at the noob starting base, and it's really important that I get the basic essentials set in place, which is a working teleporter on a constant basis, and then we're going to work on our warp cells quest. Once a powered working teleporter is set into place, what I'd like to do next is bust out my warp cells quest right up to the point where I can actually craft warp cells on my own. Once I am able to create warp cells of my very own, I hold off on the Artemis Quest line and start focusing on expanding my exosuit technology and cargo slots. And while we're doing that, we will be flipping a whole bunch of cobalt and ionized cobalt to make a whole bunch of space cheddar, and I'll be looking for a whole bunch of travelers too so I can get all the portal glyphs. Once we amass a little bit of space cheddar doing that, I will start focusing on nanites, and we'll start farming thousands and thousands of nanites as well. During this stage of the game is generally when I pick up the ship I want to pimp out all the way to S-Class. I'm pretty sure that I showed you that in the very beginning of the game. It started out as an A-Class and ended up having to farm well over 50,000 nanites to get that to an S-Class. That just goes to show just the sheer volume of nanites you're going to have the ability to farm, even though you're just starting out with a fresh save. So I kind of have an issue, travelers. I posted a poll on my community section of my YouTube page, and I asked people would they like this video in just a single video, or would they like it split up into 3 or 4 parts, and here we are at that crossroads. Now I can end the video here and then continue in the next video, but you know what, I'm just going to plow forward. This is going to be a single video. The only reason we're at the 22-ish minute mark right now is because the beginning of No Man's Sky is so involved. The main point I wanted to make is I needed to capture as much gameplay footage as I could in the very beginning of the game here without going into too many spoilers on how to do quest lines and such. What we'll be doing from here on out once I get the warp cells quest completed is going to be very repetitious. We're going to be doing the same exact things over and over, so I'm not going to have to keep you updated on a constant basis like I have been doing right now. This will give me the opportunity to kind of show you, then explain it, and then show you the end result of what we just did, then move on to the next thing we have to progress on. Now that I have everything set into place, I'm going to bang out the warp cells quest, and I'll get back with you as soon as we're ready to make us some space cheddar. Got the warp cells quest complete, and I've also been doing the base command unit quest as well. That's how I got that little storage unit over there. Alright travelers, it is now time for us to rake in boat piles upon boat piles of nanites, as well as get ourselves into a nice little starter ship that I can pimp out all the way to an S-Class. Now the main object of this is to purchase a bunch of cheap ships that are B and A class, anywhere between 3 million or less. Don't worry about purchasing any C-class ships, they are generally not worth it. You're also wanting to get storage augmentations, and they are super duper ultra rare on C-class vessels, so don't worry about purchasing and scrapping those. We'll use the storage augmentations as a way to pimp out one of these nice cheap ships, then we'll turn around and scrap and sell that too for a huge profit. Right now I have a little less than 29 million to play with, so the master plan is to keep buying and scrapping these ships until I pretty much run out of money, and then I'll head to the next system and start pawning off my cobalt and ionized cobalt once again. I might fly around the ship I plan to pimp out for a little bit, but it's not going to be the one that I keep forever. It's going to be the one that I plan on making money off of. What I mainly want to do is look for my forever ship, which is a ship that has a really cool skin, and I don't even care what class it is. I'm going to pimp that all the way to S class. Here is the loot that we got off the very first scrapping we did on the ships, and we got 2 A-class modules, which is great. Unfortunately, we didn't get any storage augmentations on that one, but I will hope for the best on this one. Alright, so for a little bit, I'm just going to be buying and scrapping these ships, and then I'll catch you up here in just a little bit, travelers. But before we head out, I can't stress this enough, travelers. Make sure you scrap that technology in these ships in the beginning. It will add up to quite a bit of money. When you become money bags, don't worry about it, but for now, scrap that technology. Here we are about 25-30 minutes later scrapping. I've already bought a ship that I'm going to be pimping out to upgrade, and we have made quite a bit of nanites. I'm about out of money at this point. The other really cool side effect of scrapping these ships like this is you get a whole boat ton of antimatter, which is used for making warp cells, and you need that when you're traveling around to upgrade your backpack slots anyway, so it's kind of a win-win situation. What we're doing now is we're using those storage augmentations to increase the value of this hauler. I'll sell this later, but for now I'm still going to fly around in it. The other things you want to be looking for when you're on these space stations is what type of modules they have for sale, and buy any of the good S-Class modules that has to do with survivability. That's not too shabby for half an hour's worth of work right there. We're just under 10k nanites. Up the value to 52 million, that's not too shabby, travelers. I only forked out 9 million on that little hauler. I'll just buy this ship up and scrap it. I'm kind of in a rhythm, and once you start doing it, you can't really stop. Well, that is until you run out of money. Then I'm going to be forced to start upgrading my backpack slots again and flipping that cobalt and ionized cobalt. But until then, I'll catch you in just a bit, travelers. Here we are a few jumps later, and I wanted to share the moment when I scrapped the newbie ship for 1 million units because of space greed. Goodbye, newbie ship. You served me quite well. Every system I go to, I'm checking the vendors for survivability. Mostly I want movement, hit points, and shields, things like that to keep me alive on planets. We haven't run across any travelers yet, but as soon as we do, I'll share that with you. That's how you're going to get portal glyphs in the game. I do have one storage augmentation on me, so I might as well just stuff it into this ship. I'm always afraid of accidentally selling these things on purpose, since when you sell stuff on vendors, the items hop around everywhere. Alright, now that is a worthy skin to purchase. This is the ship I'm going to be pimping out all the way to S-Class, travelers. Time to scrap Spaceballs, the hauler, for 36.5 million. Keep in mind we forked out 9 million when we originally purchased her, so this isn't such a bad profit. We are 2 hours into this gameplay from when I first started the game, and I have my very first forever ship that I'm going to pimp out to S-Class. We're up to 65 million, and we have 8.7k in nanites. I will be using the majority of those nanites purchasing S-Class modules when we hop from system to system. I'm mostly looking for things that'll boost my survivability in my exosuit as well as my spaceship. There we go, there's our first traveler. I was starting to think that they weren't in the game anymore, but I guess the RNGesus just wasn't being kind to me. When you talk to these travelers, they'll ask you 2 questions. The very first one's kind of a puzzle, and if you answer it correctly, you'll get enough nanites to pay for their grave location. If you don't answer it correctly, you'll either get nothing or you'll just get some random item or units. Every single grave location is going to cost you 100 nanites, travelers. All you have to do now is hop into your ship and fly over to that grave location, then hop out of your ship, interact with the traveler, and you will get a portal glyph. All it's left to do now is find 11 more travelers, and then I will have all 12 of the glyphs. I can then go anywhere I want to using the portal system. There we go, 1 down, 11 to go. Scrapping ships, upgrading slots, and now we're up to 258 million with 10k nanites. As you can see, my survivability is getting much better, and I do have my technology slots pimped out on my exosuit as well. It's getting very close to that time where I need to get ready for my very first freighter encounter, so I have my ship pretty pimped out right now. She is going to completely and totally destroy those pirates, that's for sure. Found ourselves a little S-Class pistol. This is actually a pretty good find. I can come back later and manipulate that cabinet, and I might be able to put something even better in there. I'm starting to gear up for the freighter battle, so it is now time to start on the Artemis Quest again so I can summon the space anomaly. I'm going to fly into the space anomaly, complete the little quest that you have when you first meet Nada and Polo, but the main priority of this is to buy all the upgrades I possibly can with the salvage data and nanites. I ended up skipping the very first freighter encounter. If you do that, you can actually get a capital ship for free. I'm now trying to make sure I'm ready for that encounter. And on this trip, when I generally go to the space anomaly for the very first time, I also purchase one of my exocraft. You can find this room in the very back of the space anomaly, and my first purchase is going to be the economy scanner. Up until now, I haven't really given too much of a crap about which type of a system I'm going to or which economy state it's in, but now I'm really going to start paying attention to going to wealthy systems. Wealthy systems will give me the opportunity to buy all the minerals I want in bulk at a really good price by crashing the systems. The other thing is, S-class ships have a better chance to spawn in wealthy systems, and that includes freighters. If you are ready to farm for that dream S-class freighter like I'm about to be, you really do need to do it in a wealthy system. It will definitely improve your chances on getting it faster. Ultimately, it all boils down to the RNGesus when you're farming for those S-class freighters, but I will take an extra 2% chance any day of the week. Just like that, I am now out of salvage data. It is time to buy all the rest of my upgrades, and then we'll get the heck on out of here and get that freighter. That personal refiner is so good, travelers, so good. I'm sitting at about 5.5 hours of gameplay now, travelers, and I feel like we're doing a really good job. And pretty much from here on out, whenever I hop into a new system, I'm also going to call the space anomaly in and grab 2 backpack slots at the exact same time. This will cut back on the amount of warps you're going to have to do to max everything out, but it will also cut back on a little bit of the money. But if you remember, I had over 1.3 billion, so I'm sitting pretty good at that point in under 11 hours of gameplay. The main part of this video I can't wait to get to is the actual freighter build. When I build my base on my freighter, man, that was actually pretty fun and it worked out pretty good. I got that freighter base set up really quickly, and the neat thing was I got it all packed with a whole bunch of plants, and I didn't even have to farm a single plant. I created all my own myself, which I'll show you later in the video. Finally wrapping up all these daggone upgrades that I felt like purchasing on this run. Boy, did all my nanites burn a hole in their pocket. Let's get the heck on out of here and get our freighter. I scouted out a pretty sweet capital ship. It's yellow with blue fins, and man oh man, does Space Shredder 1 completely melt the faces of these pirates. At this point, I'm pretty excited and hopeful that it's not going to take me all freaking night to get this in an S-class, so let's keep our fingers crossed, travelers. When you're ready to start farming for your dream freighter, just scout a few of the wealthy systems until you find a skin you like. Once you have the location scouted out, here are the following criteria you need to fulfill before the freighter encounter will actually happen. You need to have played the game for a minimum of 3 hours, and you need to make a minimum of 5 warp jumps. Once you have fulfilled that criteria, the game is ready and primed to spawn the freighter encounter for you, and the next time you jump is when it will generally happen. In my case, I got this place scouted out, and the very next jump was the freighter encounter. So what I did is I reloaded my autosave, and then I just warped back to here. Yeah, that other system had an ugly capital ship, so it wasn't even worth the trouble since I had this location scouted out previously. I tell you what, travelers, I love this little A-class fighter. It handles really well, and daggone it if it doesn't just melt their face like instantly. I definitely can't wait to get her upgraded to an S-class, and you are most definitely going to see that in this beginner's guide. I think the last time I tried to farm for an S-class freighter, it took me in the neighborhood of like 6 to 7 hours or something like that, and ended up getting drunk and hammered. I mean, it was brutal. Right now, I'm really hoping I'm not going to be praying to the toilet gods later after failing trying to get this in an S-class for hours upon hours. Come on, baby, I know you can do it. You want to be an S-class for me. I can feel it. This is going to be an S-class, and of course not, it's a B-class. Wah, wah. Alright, travelers, a little bit irritated right now. I had stopped recording after my 7th or 8th attempt trying to get the S-class freighter, and then when I ended up getting it a couple tries later, well, I wasn't recording. I lost my reaction of being super excited. I went down to a planet and farmed up a whole bunch of salvage data. Lost all that footage as well. But oh well, I guess I'll just let this stuff burn a hole in my pocket. I'm not going to put you through the pain of watching me buy all those base upgrades on the anomaly, but we are going to be upgrading my little A-class ship into an S-class right now. I do have enough nanites to do that with a little bit to spare to buy extra upgrades that I need later. I have been waiting for this moment for literally like the last hour and 45 minutes. I have been breaking my neck scrapping ships. I am ready to upgrade this to an S-Class. I really like employing this method of just going out there, finding a ship you want, scrapping a whole bunch of other ships for storage augmentations, and then just pimping that out and make it your super S-Class ship. What does that smell? That's an S-Class ship that I smell right there. Now that Space Cheddar 1 is now officially an S-Class, let's start working on our general and technology slots. Let's get them maxed out all the way if we possibly can. With each one of these upgrades I'm adding to Space Cheddar 1, I am really increasing the value of this ship exponentially, although I do not think I am ever going to sell her. Bada boom, bada bing, there we go. I have a completely maxed out S-Class fighter. That is awesome. And look at there, there is an S-Class exotic back there. Might as well scarf that up as well. Long story short, I mark this area, I buy this ship, I scrap this ship, I scrap many more of this ship over and over. Throughout this entire guide, you guys have noticed I haven't really given much of a crap about my multi-tool, and it is now time to fix that. I have all my exosuit, my technology, and my cargo slots fully upgraded, and while I was doing that, I got all of the portal glyphs. I farmed a whole boatload of space cheddar, and I farmed up a ton of nanites, got my ship up to an S-Class. It is now time to put those portal glyphs to work and get me an S-Class multi-tool. But unfortunately, I can't do any of that unless I can find a portal, so let me show you travelers how I go about doing that. Go on a space station and try to find a cartographer that deals in ancient ruins. There'll be the little purple symbols up in the upper right hand corner when I buy one of these maps. That will be the type of map you want. Each type of map has a different symbol, and you're going to want the one that definitely has the purple symbol. You can either trade navigational data or just purchase them for 15 nanites each. You can also go into the trade map section and trade for any type of map you want. Once you activated the map, you will get a location. Unfortunately, this is an ancient ruin. That's not what we're looking for. I will still fly down there and show you because you can get a whole bunch of words when you come here. If you ever want to stock up on a whole bunch of words, this is one of the very best ways to learn them all. You just come here to these locations and learn at least 2 to 3 per location. Once you learn the words for that alien species, which won't take you that long, maybe a couple hours tops, you can then move to a different system and then farm there and learn all the words for that species as well. With this option, you can either seek more language or knowledge from the past, and knowledge from the past will actually show you a treasure location where you can go do a little bit of treasure hunting. Sweet! The very next map directed us to an ancient monolith, and that's exactly what we needed to find in order to be able to find the portal. Let's hop on over to the portal. I'll probably build a little shack off camera, and then we'll start working on getting the portal activated for you. But first, I'm going to scarf up all these words. This is another good location. You're going to get at least 3 to 4 of them. Once you activate the portal, there will be like a little mini puzzle you're going to have to solve, and if you choose the correct answer, you'll get a reward, and then you're going to be able to look for the portal. For this case, we are being tempted by a whole bunch of riches and awesome loot, but we are going to stand back and respect the Viking and not go and steal all their stuff. Since we have chosen the correct answer, the monolith is going to allow us to interact with it again. However, it is going to force us to give it an ancient relic. In this case, since it's Viking, it's going to want a dagger. If you don't have the ancient relic, you're kind of stuck here, so just purchase all that stuff off of the little ship guys that land on your freighter. They will most definitely sell the race type specific relic. Charging up the portal is pretty simple. You just stuff in the proper type of element that you need into the glyphs. Unfortunately, I don't have any copper, and I will definitely farm that here in just 1 second. Well, that was easy. There was a patch of copper just off to the side of this portal. Alright, travelers, let's get this thing charged up all the way, and then I can show you exactly where I got this awesome experimental multi-tool at. Yep, I'm definitely the anomaly. Sorry to freak you out there, Mr. Portal, sir, but I need to show all my subs where they can get this really awesome gold and blue multi-tool. Get ready to pause the video. I'm going to enter in the portal address, and here it is. The very last one is the bird. This is one of the easiest multi-tools to find, travelers, because it is sitting right on the space station ready for you to pluck up and grab as soon as you get there. There's no hunting or pecking around on planet surfaces. You just fly right up to the space station and scarf it up, although you do have to wade through all these comm balls because that video I posted on this multi-tool kind of blew up a little bit. This location has been verified across all platforms, so you can go up and get that no matter what platform you're on. It'll be sitting there waiting for you in the cabinet. I obviously have a blue and yellow fetish travelers, so this gold and blue multi-tool is going to work really good for this awesome beginner's guide. Alright travelers, I'm kind of getting a little bit excited here, like I'm reliving the feels of finding this multi-tool back on my other Let's Play. Like I'm all sitting here getting nervous, like is it going to be there? Yeah, it's the same system, so hopefully it's still going to be there. I haven't been here for months, so let's check this out together. If it's not going to be here, it's going to be awkward. Oh, okay, so it's still here. Let's hope it's an S class. Man, I love that gold and blue look. It is so sexy. There she is, and she is certainly dazzling. Oh man, I am loving this. Every second of it, I'm loving this. What a good trade up right there. From newbie pistol to super awesome experimental multi-tool that is an S class. I cannot wait to pimp her out. Let's start working on our freighter base for now. I'll get back to that later. Before we start building our epic base travelers, let's do something I always like to do, and that is removing this back room over here for a whole bunch of extra building materials. This will save us a whole bunch of silver and tritium, giving us a head start on our base build, and you'll also get a whole bunch of other items as well from destroying those objects in the game. I think a lot of travelers forget this step. I like to do this to that crappy freighter you get, the very first one in the game, the one that I actually skipped so I could buy this freighter for free. Yeah, that one. Usually I destroy all these back rooms back here and all the wall panels and things, and then I trade off my freighter. I guess it matters more when you're kind of broke, but yeah, I just thought I would throw this out there. The interior of this freighter is pretty shrunk down now. Now let's go ahead and expand to the proper size that I'm wanting from my base build. Once I get a gigantic room to about the size I want, then I'm going to ring the whole outer edge of this thing in large refineries. Once we get the large refineries set in place, I'll coat the outer walls with planters so I have a really good carbon source. Once I get all the standing planters pretty much set into place, I'll start putting out all those giant hydroponic trays so we can start getting plants in here. I'll also show you a neat little trick on getting those standing planters to work without electricity. Before we get into that, I might as well throw down these fleet command centers. My daggone freighter quest is like totally begging me to do it, so I might as well just get that out of the way. And instead of throwing one down, I might as well just make room for 4. I'll be snagging up a whole bunch of frigates after this awesome beginner's guide is filmed, so I might as well just get all this stuff set into place anyway. Once you complete this Fleet Command Center quest line, you'll get the ability to create the fuel needed to fuel your frigates. It's also a great way to make tons upon tons of money early on when you're starting out as a noob. Just create and sell those frigate fuels by the boat ton and you'll be rich, although flipping cobalt is much more profitable. I just purchased a whole boat ton of microprocessors from the space terminal I created on my freighter. Now it's time to throw down all these large refineries so I can have them ring my entire farm. By having access to so many large refineries like this, I'm not going to have to build such a massive farm in order to make all kinds of items. Refineries are all pretty much set into place and I have started working on the hydroponics setup. I think I'm going to start doing the standing planters now. Generally, if I do the hydroponics first, I screw up the placement of everything. I always end up not giving myself enough room around the edges, and it's also going to be the case in this situation, so I will have to move those hydroponic trays later, but for now, I'm going to get all these daggone planters going. I can already tell I don't really have enough room. What you need is enough space between the standing planters and the hydroponic trays because I'm going to be glitching a little light in there, and it takes up space as well. So yeah, I don't really have enough room here, travelers, so I'm just going to run back and reload my manual save. That's going to put me right back at the spot I was before placing all those hydroponic trays. This little glitch I'm going to show you works on all platforms. What you do is you actually kind of connect the sockets together of the planter and the light right there, and it'll actually charge that planter. It takes a little practice to kind of get this right, but once you get it right, you'll be able to do it pretty much each and every single time you try to place one of these lights on the planters. The other really neat thing is this trick actually works with portals as well, so if you want to build a portal on your freighter, you can charge it from that light bulb. Finally have the placement right on these hydroponic trays. I think I'm going to pop one of them out so I can have a row down the middle, but yep, there's plenty of space. That's going to be perfect. There is a bug out there that plagues these hydroponic trays. You'll notice that some of them are red and some of them are blue. I'm going to show you how to keep them all blue right now. All you have to do is connect your light to one of those hydroponic trays and then daisy chain down the line. I'll show you that in just a second, and if you want to hide those daggone wires so you don't see them anymore, just purchase that right there from the Space Anomaly and it'll hide all your wires. Now all that's left to do is to daisy chain them all together from that light, and this will make sure that you don't experience that bug where some of your planners run out of power. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but this will save you in the long run. This is actually pretty sweet. Base is really coming together at this point. I pretty much have all the planners set in place. All my standing planners are set in place and my large refineries are set in place. Now it's time to create plant materials so we can actually make a farm. Pause the video here if you need to. These are the elements you need to create all the plant fiber. I didn't show Mordite, but it takes condensed carbon and dihydrogen. In the beginning, you'll be infusing oxygen with the main mineral that is needed to create the plants. For the first example, we will be creating gamma root, which needs oxygen and uranium. Once you get enough gamma root on hand, you can then infuse that gamma root with more uranium to make even more gamma root. I'll be using the oxygen infused method to get my farms up and going, but once they are in place, I'll definitely be using the other method, which infuses the plant fiber with its native element. Creating your farm base like this, travelers, really helps you get to the end game quick, and when you want to make a bunch of circuit boards, well, you can make those and you never have to stop making those. Not having to wait for your plants to fully mature is really awesome, travelers, so use this method as much as you can. It is a huge time saver. All the minerals you're going to need, with the exception of carbon and condensed carbon, can be purchased from the space station or the little ship guys on the space station. Up until I got my standing planners set into place, my main source of carbon was just turning oxygen into carbon in refineries. There you have it, travelers. This is how I get my farms up and going really quick, and I don't have to worry about hunting and pecking around on planets for plant materials. I just create my own. These refineries are doing their job really well. I think I have a pretty good stash going of all these elements, and I can start planting my farms anytime I want to. This should be plenty of material to start planting our farms. I'm just going to let our large refineries do their thing and get on with it. I planted a row of gut rot flowers, which is the stuff that gives you facium. It's basically the poop plants. Now let's get on to getting all these daggone frost crystals going. My plan is to do just one row of these guys, and I'm going to do 2 rows of pretty much every other plant. These plants here, like, they respawn really quick. It only takes like 15 to 30 minutes or something. I forget the actual time, but it's pretty fast. Now I'm going to start planting gamma weed, which is vital to making living glass, so I'm just going to stuff it right next to my frostworts. Just as a matter of convenience, so I don't have to run all over the place if I do happen to want to craft living glass at a later time. It's actually quite funny, because back in the day, I used to build farms that had thousands upon thousands of plants in them, just because I didn't really know about the refinery trick to actually create plant material. And I actually have to admit, this is almost overkill. Actually, it's not almost overkill, it pretty much is overkill. I don't need this many planters, but since I'm space greedy, I just do what I want anyway, I suppose. The thing is, travelers, you don't really need to build a gigantic overkill farm like I have going here. I have plenty of those large refineries, and whenever I want any plant material, I can just create it whenever I need it. The good news is, when I decide to build a super awesome mega base on some paradise planet somewhere, I am going to have a leg up when I go to make the farms in that base, since I have this one all set up on my freighter. Talking about overkill, I'm going to have to expand a little bit more for my fungal molds. I am not able to plant as many as I want to because of the layout here. It's kind of cutting off at least 8 planters, so yeah, that's not going to work out for me. In a little while, I'll show you my solution to being able to add a little bit more fungal mold in here. I had to add Mordite plants, which I completely forgot about in the beginning, so yeah, I have to create a new room and add the Mordite in the back. These last 2 plants I'm going to plant in the main room take forever to spawn, travelers. This solar vine and the cactus can take almost up to a day. I think it's like 16 hours or something ridiculous like that. Since these daggone solar vine and cactuses take forever to respawn, it is your very best bet to use the oxygen infused method, as well as mixing some of that solar vine with its main primary element, which is phosphorus, to create even more of the plant material. If you don't use the oxygen infused method or the other method I showed you, you are going to be strapped down by the man, and you're going to have to wait for these things to respawn, which, like I said, takes forever. Basically, the moral of the story is, don't get strapped down by the man, have a whole bunch of large or medium refineries, and you're going to be completely set. All you need to do is worry about finding oxygen, which is on every single space terminal and every single little ship guide that lands on the space station cells, so that's good to go. And then you need to worry about the plant's main element, and that's really about it, travelers. And you can create as much as you want whenever you want. Just about finished planting all the plants I'm going to have in this main room. I'm going to have to build a little tiny room off in the back, and then I'm going to plant my mordite. I guess it's a good idea to kind of build this little back room in the back of my freighter, considering this is a whole bunch of rotten flesh plants. Even though I'm a Viking, I am not into smelling a whole bunch of rotten flesh. When I eat flesh, I want it to be bleeding and wiggling, travelers. Once I get this mordite set into place, travelers, I will have all the plant material I need to create all the endgame items in No Man's Sky. There are a couple other plants that I could plant, but I'm not going to really worry about it because they're not really needed to construct those endgame items I was talking about. Alright, there we go. I've got all my plants set into place. I think I'm going to put a couple planters right here and stick some mushroom plants in it. Might as well. That's a great opportunity to make up for what I'm missing. I took a little break to let my plants spawn in the planters. Let's see what 10 hours and 57 minutes of gameplay looks like, travelers. We'll take a little base tour and check out what my freighter looks like now, and while we do that, we'll recap on all the steps needed to replicate this process. Step 1, as soon as you spawn, find yourself a cave, kill all those hazardous flora inside for oxygen and sodium, and then farm up a whole bunch of cobalt for later. Do your quest up until the point you can create warp cells of your very own, then spend your time upgrading all your bag slots. With each new station you go to, you will be flipping all that cobalt and ionized cobalt like I showed you how to crash the economy and then rebuy it back up for the good guy price. Make sure you check each one of the exosuit vendors. Once you're able to start farming the nanites like I showed you in the scrapping ship method, you're going to be able to boost up your survivability really quickly. Every time you see a traveler, talk to them, get their grave location, and get yourself a portal glyph. Once you get all your portal glyphs, go over to that space station I showed you and get you that awesome S-Class multi-tool. It really is super easy to find. When it comes for farming for a freighter, just make sure you skip that first freighter battle, and that second one you fight, you'll be able to get a capital ship for free. Make sure you create an autosave in a different system, and if it's not an S-Class, just reload your autosave and warp back to that system and keep fighting it until you do get it as an S-Class. There you have it, travelers. This concludes the perfect beginner's guide for No Man's Sky in 2020. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If this beginner's guide helps your gameplay in No Man's Sky, please consider smashing that like button, subscribe to our channel, and I will catch you in the next episode, travelers. Peace.